Hi everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the English attack versus the Sicilian. Starts with e4, c5, knight f3, so the open Sicilian, d6, also possible after e6, something like knight c6, c6, g6, excuse me, d6, and d4. Take, knight f6, knight c3, and let's say a6. In the game, we're looking at a game between Alexander Morozovich versus Jonathan Wilson. Knight c3 was played first, but it makes little difference after knight f6, d4, take, and a6. Although black has the option of playing e5, which would block d4. But it weakens the d5 square. So we can play something like bishop c4, d3, and knight d5, possibly followed by knight d2, knight f1, knight e3, just to focus on the square. But according to theory, it's quite okay for black. So knight f6, d4, take, a6, a very useful move. It prevents knight b5 in some lines after e5, but also the move bishop b5 is blocked, and it prepares a move b5, which gains some space on the queen side, and we can develop the bishop. So a6 and bishop b3. Very useful move, defends the knight and prepares castle and queen side. e6, e5 is possible as well, but this, which is the knight off, this weakens the d5 square, but it makes room for the bishop to go to e6. After knight b3, bishop e6, f3, we're going to play in the style like in the game we're looking at right now. So e6, f3, a very useful move. It defends e4 and it defends g4 because we want to play queen d2. And we want to block the option of knight g4, which will hit our bishop. And we're very fond of that bishop, so we're not going to do that. f3. You see, it will also weaken this diagonal, but since we're castling queen sides, it doesn't really matter. If we would castle king sides, it would be weakening indeed. f3. Bishop b7, preparing to castle. Queen e2, preparing to castle as well. Castle king side, castle queen side, and knight c6. Another option would be knight d7 with the idea of b5, knight b6, and knight c4. Because of the open c file, the square c4 is often a strong square for black. We can't control it with our d-pawn since, yeah, it's gone. And if we do this with our b-pawn, we will weaken our king. Luckily, we still have this bishop on f1, which will stay there for a while, which can always hit the knight on c4 when it gets there. That's probably why black went for knight c6. Here we have the basic setup for white in English attack. We developed our pieces, except for the bishop, which has a useful role to hit the knight, but it can also come to h3. We'll look at that later. Where we've castled queen side, and now we're ready to attack. Black castled king side, so we can launch an attack with our pawns. We will usually do this by playing g4, h4, h5, g5, and g6. Just opening up the position and attacking. We're going to afterwards is where we're going to develop our bishop to h3 or c4, and we're going to play a rook to g1 if everything goes well. That's our basic plan. Other options are to play on the d file, since this pawn might be weak If black isn't careful enough, we can hit it with something like knight b3 and bishop f4. That's probably also a reason why black played a6, because otherwise he would have the option of playing knight to b5 and hitting the d6 pawn. Knight c6. White played g4 according to plan, just attacking. And here black exchanged knights. He wants to play b5, but obviously the knight's hanging, so that's a problem. And if I play this will just lose some time, so we can just continue with a plan h4. And I still have to play b5 and develop my bishop, so it's rather slow. So black decides to act quickly, but this will improve our queen. To take is still a mistake. But since black has less space, trading is an option, and he will gain more space for his other pieces. And now he can just play b5, which was his plan. White played h4, ready to storm further. And here black played e5, an interesting move. Sure, it weakens the d5 square, but it also creates a new square for the bishop. We have to retreat, and still we're winning some time. Queen e2, and here b4. If black were to play bishop e6, an option would be g5. Let's say knight h5 and bishop h3, which would offer to exchange the bishops, and we might be able to control the square. Let's see. b4 was played, and here knight a4 was played. If I were to play knight d5, black can take this knight. If I take with the queen, okay, I control the square, hitting the rook, but I can play bishop e6, which protects rook and hits the queen and hits the a pawn. If I were to go back, I could play something like queen a5, or maybe just take the pawn. I think this is okay. Because of b3, I can simply play a5, this. This is very dangerous for the king. It's an option. Black should be okay here. I'm not really controlling the square. I don't have a piece to put on it, so this is okay. If I were to take with the pawn, black will just protect his pawn and go for his attack. And his weak pawn is no longer weak, since my pieces are looking against my own pawn, which is blocking my attack on the pawn. So it's no longer a problem for black. So black's quite okay here. So interesting move. Knight a4 and rook b8. Knight a4 is quite interesting. It stops queen a5, because I can just play b3, which protects my knight, and I actually trapping the queen if I were to get another move, because my bishop is protecting this square and my pawn's protecting this square, and the queen would be trapped. Also, the pawn is unable to advance because of my knight. And my two pieces are looking at b6, so it's quite a useful move. b4, knight a4, b8, protecting the b6 square, but here we'll just continue with our attack. g5 was played. I would prefer the move h5, because I can play g5 and the knight's unable to go to h5, and then I can just continue with my attack. This is an option. g5 is possible as well. Here I can play knight h5, but I can still chase it away with something like bishop e2 and f4. I think this is rather annoying. for white and quite a good defensive option for black, because he's actually doing the same as we're doing, blocking the pawn. So I think h5 is a better move. But okay, g4 is played and black played knight d7 anyway, so that's not really a problem. White played b3, prophylactical defending the knight and possibly planning to... No, this isn't possible. Something like knight c5, planning to retreat? I don't know. But it's an okay move. Bishop b7 was played, still has to develop the bishop. And now the b6 square is covered, so this is possible. And h5, ready to blast through the position. Notes the bishop. It's still an f1, but it's quite useful. It's also hitting this pawn. It can go to h3 and it can go to c4. Let's say black played bishop b7 and never played e5. We can continue with the same plan, and after g6, which is a key move, tick tick tick, we can still play bishop h3 even with the pawn on b5, restricting our option of bishop c4. And it's hitting e6 very hard. I'm not really able to defend this well. I can play something like knight c5, but even b4 is an option because it's almost mate here. You can see the king is quite weakened. Even if we're a pawn up, we have two rooks hitting the king, an active queen, an active bishop, a very strong bishop indeed, and not really the pieces to defend the king, so this should be winning. But okay, back to the game. White played h5. Black felt as if he had to do something, so played f5. If he were to do nothing or play something like a5, he would again blast through with a move g6. If black were to take, we could just play something like bishop c4, which is almost mate. I can play this, but this is a very sad position indeed. I can just take the pawn, take the pawn, double up, or just maybe this is even winning. Just go for mate. Yeah, this is way stronger. Okay. Of course, black doesn't have to take if he just continues with, let's say, bishop c6. We're not going to take this pawn because the king is just going to h8, and our pawn is basically protecting the king. So why would you do that? If we do this, we'll just activate the rook, and it will defend the king. So no, we're just going to ignore this and play h6. That's a very strong idea. If I were to play h6 immediately, g6 would follow, and okay, we would have this nice square, which would be fun if we would get the queen on g7 or get a rook here, but that's quite impossible at the moment. So our attack is stopped. So why would you do this? No. It's quite useless. Okay, where were I? Oh yeah, g6, h6 wasn't very good. Bishop c6. Oh yeah, okay. h6, just hitting the king. I can just sack this pawn. I'll take here. If I take, I'm winning the exchange back at least, and I can bring the queen to here or here, and I'll win material, and black will be mated. Take. Something like this. Maybe here I can escape. Bishop c4 is possible as well. Maybe I should go for this instantly. Something like this and something like this, and I can threaten rook takes g6. Seems to be very strong. I don't have to hit. I don't have to take the rook. It's an option, but don't have to do it. Why? My bishop's very strong here. Okay. And if I were to play this, this. We can see a battery with queen and bishop, and we can just take on h6, take, and queen takes, and our pawn is very strong here, and we'll just mate black. I can try this, but this is mate as well. So no. Okay, but so black played f5. He felt as if he needed to do something, but okay, this opens the diagonal as well. And Morozevich cleverly used this diagonal by playing bishop c4, check. King h8, this is obviously just losing a rook after g6. So this is the only option. Maybe sack the pawn, but take, and the knight's hanging. So it's not a good idea as well. So king h8, and Morozevich just continued the attack with g6, which seems to be very strong. Black played h6. I noticed the option of playing f4, which will block the excuse me, block the bishop and the queen. But here white has the clever h6. After take, white can just play something like queen h2. This is very painful. Even a rook h8 won't matter because I can just play queen check, king f6, and pawn takes h7 mate. So black played h6, but okay, we're just going to take this pawn. Black obviously was unable to capture because of mate on h6, so he took the pawn on e4, but white just ignored this and brought his rook into action. Black tried to prevent the queen or block the queen, whatever, I don't know what he was trying to do, playing a3, but just capture the pawn, d5, and here it's just over. It's just over. Take, h6. You can see those pawns marching to the king. And g7 hitting the rook. This king is very sad. Taking the bishop at h7, and we're just going to mate black or promote, take and promote. Black is clearly losing. Jonathan noticed this and just resigns. Very instructive. Black just developed normally. White just followed his plan with g4, h4, g5, h5, and g6, and got a brilliant attack just by playing this. So I think this is very easy. Everyone should be able to play the English attack. Okay, you'll always have to calculate and look for possibilities here and there, but opening theory seems to be quite okay.